everyone. This is Matt over at MilestoneCapitalGrowthPortfolio.com, and today is Sunday, February 28th. Okay, new week's coming, and now we have Super Tuesday coming too, and history says that's the bottom for the market, but I beg to differ. I'm going to stick with my 2008 plan because it is right on track as we speak. So this big move to the upside has been fantastic. But I am going to start with SPY, and then I'm going to get into a whole bunch of tickers. It's going to be a big video, and it's also going to have options layout along with those tickers. So keep an eye on that. They're going to be all different time frames, and they're going to be for March and April evaluations. So we'll look at the weekly and monthly on a couple of them, on most of them actually, except for the first set. So I just want to look at market conditions as we speak and what to expect, because the bid and the ask, of course, could change, and the price could change on the tickers that we're looking at based on market conditions. I'm going to stay on the hourly right now real quick, and we're going to take note of a couple things before we get started into all the other tickers. So you can see here we had a big move. We already knew all that. This has just been colossal, and has done fantastic. A nice move from the 187.75. Actually, was it? No, it was one lower than that. 181.34 in that area. We have a colossal move to the upside. This is the hourly right now that I am looking at, and the reason I'm looking at that is because I just want to mark out a couple of things. One is going to be this lower gap right here. I just want that on record. That is there. We did have this upper gap here that we're going to remove that. We have another gap that we should definitely be aware of, and that's that 203.84. We're going to keep that one open, and we have another little one right here, and we're going to keep that one open. Okay, you're going to see how that plays a role as we move to our time frames. This trend line is in place for a reason. We're going to go see that right now. So right now, we're definitely in a stepping up mode, and we're not going to head lower until this consolidation line is broken. Then we know we have a reversal in the pattern. Also the middle Bollinger Band, but you can see how everything is pointing to the upside. So any pullback on this potentially would be coming into this area. If we gap down to 193, well, let's see if we do Monday, somewhere in this area, about 10:30, somewhere in there, 193.39. If this does break, then we have the lower Bollinger Band support, and then this will be resistance. But then we'll get into that as time goes on. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we just want to make note of what we have. We're going to go into the daily here. You can see the trend line to the upside is intact 100%. Then you have your resistance right here, which is going to be a trend line that I'm going to show you a little bit further out. And you have these two gaps right here. So right now it is in a pattern to the upside until it is not. And by what I mean by that is when this does not hold support anymore, then we are going lower and potentially following the current trend that we have to the downside, which is the lower trend here. Okay, so we've got to keep an eye on that. That's the next support level after we have a 186 gap fill, but we don't go for that until this is broken. So we'll have to keep an eye on that very close. So that's a daily, just looking at the daily view right now. We'll remove that. You can see a stow is getting ready to cross. Your RSI is start turning to the downside, but like I said, we need follow through on the lower time frame for confirmation to be proactive for during the daily. So I'm going to put the weekly in place right here because this is pretty important. And you can see it's the candle base here, right here on this trend line. All right, and you're going to have the resistance right here of your weekly candles right there. Okay, so that's pretty much your resistance, which falls in line with this gap close at 200 and the middle Bollinger Band on your weekly. Again, we still have these two gaps right here. It doesn't mean we're not going to go get them, because you can see the weekly starting to cross to the upside, and you're slowly growing to the upside. But you've had three big candles in a row, usually three candles, and then you sell off. That's pretty much the pattern on it. But you came back in. You can see on the monthly here, you came back inside the Bollinger Band. Of course, this always happens, and that's what we were talking about, and it really worked out. You did close above this, inside this candle, not above it. But again, we still have a couple days left. But typically what you're going to see is this thing reverse to the downside if we don't close the month over this candle here. So we could get another candle to the downside after this one to push things further south. So volume is nothing spectacular. Going to look at the quarterly real quick. You can see the quarterly is perfectly in track right here to head to the downside. We did this video, and there's your 62 on your relative strength index coming down. Middle Bollinger Band is right in this area at 170. I think we're going to see that. You can see for the quarter it's still red, and the yearly is setting up pretty nicely here with two red candles and just starting out. But again, we're at the beginning. Relative strength index is at 70, but this looks like the year that we're going to do our thing. Okay, so for March 18th, we're going to look at some dailies here, and I'm going to crank through a bunch of tickers. And on the video, you'll be able to see in the corner. Hopefully, it won't get in the way because I'm going to add it after the different strikes and so on and so forth. But I will say them also. So have your pens and pencils ready so you can keep an eye on it. So we know the potential upside for the market, but if we do start to reverse to the downside, these prices and option prices are probably good right now, especially if you're going with the longer version of them. So with the dailies. We're going to handle about 15 tickers or so, and we're going to crank right through them. And what we're going to look at is a relative strength index to STO and where the location is right now. So DPZ, remember, this is all technical, has nothing to do with news. If you have news, if it does have news or earnings or any of that other stuff, make sure that you evaluate all that stuff, because we do nothing with fundamentals. We are just technical scans, and these are on our scans for a reason. Okay, we gotta just to get inside on this daily here on DPC, you're gonna have to get it to 128.96. What we're looking at is March 18th, 130 strike for $1.90. They're $1.90 by 210, but potentially this is going to come down and retreat a little bit just to get back inside your Bollinger Band. Your STO is getting ready. It's nice and lined up. So keep an eye on that one. DDS is another one. March 18th also. All these are March 18th until I switch to the weekly. So right now you're going to have to keep just remember they're all March 18th. Okay, so we're looking for the 140 strike right here, and they're 85 by 110, and really, just keeping it as simple as possible. They'll probably come back inside here a little bit further, but what you want to do is manage this position here just to get back inside, because you're going to get some support on this candle here. 82.62 is your number for that one, and then we're going to look at UTX next. UTX we missed a little bit on this one, but still has a ways to go. We'll mark that one out real quick. Same thing, going to look at the Bollinger Band, probably get down to this area here, but 96.27 is there, so 95 in here would be fantastic. Order the trend line, you can draw that out, but these are great. You can see on all of these, the relative strength indexes are really, really high. So this is just a scan that we use, and this is a 95 strike, 140 by 161, and again, March 18th. We're going to look at VAC next. I have a lot to cover, that's why I'm cranking right through this. So these are great scans. This scan right here is basically, is over the upper Bollinger Band on the daily. So this is a really good one for us. That there are other indicators that we have to for this, but basically, for your knowledge, it's the daily upper Bollinger Band. So it's outside the upper Bollinger Band, and 9 times out of 10, well, they always pull back inside. So as long as you have enough time. So this one's about 60s, 07, but beautiful gap here at 54.69 on VAC. That one's going to be a 55 strike, 70 by $1. March 18th, of course. LNG is going to be next, and you can see on your relative strength index on all these, LNG looks beautiful right here. You do have a current trend line on this one. You can see here, all right, right in this area basically. So you're looking right here. You always want to see what you're looking for, and again, these are pretty much short-term scalp trades. Nothing major on this. So LNG is going to be the 18th also. 30 strike, 33 by 40. I like this one. So if 30 strike is possible in that area where your middle Bollinger Band is. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Keep an eye on that. All right, next one is going to be a daily RSI 14. Over 70. Okay, so it's the same basic concept, but it's basically the RSI 14, which we're going to switch to right now, instead of using the 10, which 10 is I like a little bit better because it's pronounced, but the RSI 14 is very important for this. So all these are going to be March 18th also. CBRL is going to start this one off. And when you're on here, you could take a look at your STO, you could take a look at your RSI, and pick your area that you're looking for, maybe a 140 in that area, especially on any kind of pullback with the market. These had big moves to the upside, so they just need to take a little break. Looking at 140 strike and 95 by 120. That's going to be that one. STMP is another one. I like this one. This one has blown up big time. This could be pretty interesting on any kind of retrace. Plan your retrace. I think earnings was out on this one where it blew up like this. So I'm not sure. You're going to have to keep an eye on that. That's the 18th. Strike 105 is 85 by 125. So keep an eye on this one here. You can see your relative strength index has cranked, and you had that big volume for the 1 day. So it definitely has Momo to the upside, but it's going to need to take a break. WCG. Another one here that's sitting pretty high, and you also have your gap at 83. It's currently at 91, and that one is 85 strike 80 by 100. So keep an eye on that one. Another one we're going to look at is DEC. DEC is getting a little bit red here. RSI is a little bit high. Stoke it cross at any time. All we need is a little bit of volume to come into this, and you can see that the buying has definitely depleted, and this one's probably going to pull back pretty nicely. So keep an eye on DEC, and that strike is going to be March 18th, 53 strike, and that's going to be 95 by 120. Next is going to be TGT. I better get rolling here. TGT, you can see your relative strength index starting to turn down. Your stove's starting to cross. I like this one. This is really good. Keep an eye on the March 18th. And we're going to do 75 strike, and they're 59 by 68. 59 by 68. Then we're looking at GIII. GII is another one. And this is all off the same scan. Okay, this had some momentum, came up and hit the 70. Your stove's coming across. You're going to have to keep an eye on this for any kind of retracement. On that retracement, we do have a gap at 50.50. And we are looking at the 50 strike, 80 by 110 for March 18th. And Whirlpool is next. Whirlpool cranking to the upside. Okay, once this trend line breaks, and look for a gap to get filled, keep an eye on that. Your volume's starting to get a little bit lower. Your stove's starting to cross, and your RSI 14 is at 70. Okay, we get a little gap right here. This is my entry. 156.88 is my ideal entry on this one. 156.88 is going to be my ideal entry, and then with a little bit of pull down after that, because we do have this little bit of a gap right here that has not been gotten yet. So Whirlpool, I'm looking at March 18th. 150 is 242 by 249. Keep an eye on that one. FNB is going to be next. I know I get a lot of these. This is a fantastic video for you. See a 14 starting to cross to the downside. That is beautiful. You cannot beat that. That is just absolutely gorgeous. And then you have your stove starting to cross also. Could pick up in volume to the downside once we start going here. And when I mean start going is basically break this trend line that's sitting in place. And these scans pretty much work very well for us. You can see that's where it bounced right here. So once we snap that, look out below. We could probably get the 52 area. So I'm looking at FNV March 18th, 55 strike, 105 by 135. These look very, very nice. And last one for this list is going to be Ruger. Ruger, we love March 18th also. We're going to go with the 65 strike on this one. Okay, 65 strike, and they're 80 by $1. And your relative strength index is powerful. Your volume is definitely decreasing since it hit this upper area. We're not looking for a huge move on any of these. We're looking for a nice scalp trade on these. So once you pick your top, look for your bottom and peel off as you go. Here we go. Here you can see your trend line. That's pretty powerful trend line right now. The first one was broken, but then it regained itself. So you're looking at the same area, maybe 65, somewhere in that area. But if this does break, and this breaks on all of them, if you look at your trend line and your middle Bollinger Band breaks, always look for your lower Bollinger Band to be your next support. All right, I'm going to switch this to the weekly look now, and I'm going to go with the next one with the RSI 14 is at 70. Okay, and we're not going to use this one. We're going to use we're going to do two symbols on this one. We're going to do KMB, and this is going to be a little longer out. We're looking at April on this one. Okay, April. And what we see for April, we're looking at April 15th, 125 strike, which is 166 by 175. Okay, so we're not going too crazy. We are looking for the 125, and the 125 is going to be, above the middle Bollinger Band. But if we come down and hit the middle Bollinger Band, you know how nice those options can be. So keep an eye on that one. Gold, we also like to the downside, only because you're really starting to form a hook here and a cross here with some big selling here, and you're outside the Bollinger Band. We do have a nice little gap, and it's probably around 76 in that area, but because this is a weekly look, we're just going to, basically look at that. So we're looking at April 15th, 80 strike. Okay, 80 strike, 170 by 195. We think we can get down and get that gap before moving higher. All right, now we're going to look at something a little bit longer on a chart. We're going to look at the monthly RSI at 70 for these. Okay, and we're still doing April on this next batch. There's 4 on this list, so keep an eye on these. All right, and this is a monthly RSI 14, which is over 70 or at 70 in that area. CLX is 1. Okay, on the monthly. Whoops, that's the wrong one. CLX. Okay, and you can see it's starting to form this little down candle here with some heavy selling on the monthly. Okay, and you're starting to cross to the downside. Potentially, we're going to get pretty low here, but we're going to look at the support line here at 120 and manage that. If this breaks, then we're going to look for the middle Bollinger Band, but at least we'll make some good money from here to here, which will be a $10 move to the downside. So we're looking at April 15th on those two, and that's going to be 120, and the price is 110 by 120 for those options. Okay, so that one, we like this one a lot here, but you can see the monthly is getting a little bit overbought. You could even go May on these because of the way the charts look. So STZ is going to be next. Monthly view on this one. We've lost it twice here. So here's your double top. You can't get through it. Your stow is at, was at 90. Now it's down to 76. I'm not saying it's going to come down here, but it may. It's set up well enough where the buyers are now, pretty much retracing. They're not pushing this to the upside at this time. I don't know if earnings are playing a role, what's playing a role, but it's at an epic move, and it needs a little bit of a break. So what we're looking at for this one is April 15th, 130 strike. They're 2 by 220. Okay, so even if this goes lower, you're going to make some really good money on that because we're just sitting right here in the middle area is what our target is. I know Facebook. I'm actually going to post Facebook. Imagine that. Every time it pulls back down, it definitely it bounces off the middle Bollinger Band. So we're not going to go too nuts on this one. April 15th, 100 strike. Okay. And that's 195 by 197. We like this. We like this a lot. We have that double top that it couldn't get through and make that new high like it did all the way up here. Okay, and the relative strength index is now at 73.90 and it's turned to the downside. Your middle Bollinger Band is sitting right here at 87.31, which is pretty good here. And you have your candle support right there, and that's why this one bounced last time. So even if it does bounce in this area, you're probably going to get down to near 100 in this time frame and get that spike like here and here down to the middle Bollinger Band area, which is going to be about 88. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So we're looking at April on those, and like I said, April 15th, 100 is 195 by 197, and we're looking at MAA is another one here. This could be an interesting one also because you're getting ready to cross here. It did have a big bounce off this move here, $11 move. But the selling is picking up. The buying came back into it, but it's not pushing any higher. You only got 2 days left in this month, and if this candle stays underneath this candle, it could be another epic plunge for it. And epic plunge is, $5-10 is big for this one. So, you can see where the bounce level is, but at one point, it's not going to bounce off this level in this area. So, you get your middle Bollinger Band pretty much solid in that area. So we're going to look at April 15th, 85s, and they're 90 by 125. Okay, so these are great technical scans that we use. We have thousands of them that we do use, but this weekend we figured we'd do something special and show you how we set up our week and evaluate our week or month, longer and shorter term plays. You'll be able to manage this and look at these and evaluate how these scans do. Like I said, we have so many scans that we've built over the years that are very detailed scans and looking for certain indicators. So so we figured we'd release this one. We had a good weekend of scanning. So what the market conditions are. These can change, but your overall overview for these are retracements, and that's our view on these, that they're going to take a nice little break, pull back, and be very lucrative for a trade to the downside. So if you can match that up when market conditions warrant that move to the downside, it'll be a very, very lucrative setup for the next couple of months for you on all of these, because there's several over here, especially if the market rolls over. And at the same time, you can check which sector is actually going to be pulling back, and you can pick from that, and so on and so forth. Or you can join us in the chat room, milestonecapitalgrowthportfolio.com, and have fun with that. Another great service that we started, with over 65 people following us now in 2 weeks you could follow me on WhatsApp for all my trades. And what I do, and I'll be releasing several of these also when the entries are made. But at the same time, you get, I not only give you what my entry price target that I'm looking for. I'll give you the 30% that I like to lock in for profit. So I'll give you the 30% number, 20% stop number, and so on and so forth. So which strike, what month, what week, it's a very detailed thing that I send out prior to me making my purchase, if anything. And you can follow me on WhatsApp. There's a monthly fee for that, but it's 65 people follow in 2 weeks. It's growing pretty good. Our track record's really good. Our percentages are fantastic. So it might be worth it for you to give us a try for that. So underneath the video, just click on Follow My Trades and join us. And all you have to do is sit there, and it'll come to your phone, or it'll come to your iPad, or whatever you have WhatsApp on, whenever I see something or I'm getting ready to purchase something. We're also incorporating our Skynet program into that. So even if something that I'm not purchasing, we are going to be releasing some stuff that Skynet says is ready, and we'll do the same exact layout. So there'll be even more there to offer everyone, not only just my stuff, but other things that you can look at. And in a couple of weeks, we are going to be releasing not only for options, but we are going to do WhatsApp for stock investments, whether it's short or long. So we'll be rolling that out in a couple of weeks. It'll be a separate program and run by somebody else in our group who's been an amazing chartist, and has done absolutely fantastic with the scans. Well over 2,500 scans built in the last 10 years. He's amazing. So he wants to do that. We've had a demand for the stock picking process also. So not only options, which I do on WhatsApp, and that's what this is, but we'll be offering the stocks also in a couple of weeks. So look forward to that. Okay, everyone, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you tomorrow at milestonecapitalgrowthportfolio.com. If you're looking to join the WhatsApp, underneath this video, make sure you click it. Try us out for a month. Well worth it, especially if you trade options, and you will learn a lot, and you will have a blast, and you won't have to do any work. We do it all. All of our tools do the work. All right, everyone, have yourself a fantastic afternoon.